Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, 'cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, 'cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah. You know how to go, hey. Yeah, that's the flow, yeah.
Good evening, y'all. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Um, I am trying to mentally put together that we are definitely living in a world where we just don't know what's gonna come next. So before I get started with everything, I just want to say that I hope everyone is taking care of themselves, and I hope that there are levels of caring for yourself that you're doing. I hope that you're keeping your spirits lifted in the midst of all of this constant change. And I hope that you are loving on the people in your life as much as you can because life is just lifing at a frenetic pace, and I just hope that everyone is doing well that's watching this right now. And if you're watching this or going to listen to this later, I hope you're doing okay at this point. And I'm just grateful for the time that I'm about to have and for everything that has happened in this space and everything that um, I've been able to accomplish and everything you've been able to accomplish. I'm proud of you if nobody ever tells you that. And yeah, we're going to navigate this tough time together because I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm pretty sure you, as a wrestling fan, if you're not even a wrestling fan, if you're watching for the first time, you're trying to figure your life out. But in the midst of this, we have to hold on to love and light because that's all we have. Um, so yeah, this is a show where I talk about professional wrestling and everything that's going on in it, the ups, the downs, the highlights, the lowlights, and everything in between. And there really is no way to start than to just start. And we got to get into it. So, thank you all so much for watching. So, yeah, yesterday was a day that I just did not think was ever going to not say never gonna happen, but I just did not think this anything like this was gonna happen so soon. Um, there was a lot of loss going on this week in so many different levels of culture. Which I will get to a little bit later. But of course, this is news and gossipish, so of course we have to start with the big news, and this is involving the death of Terry Bollea, who I would always call the man formerly known as Hulk Hogan. Um, he passed away yesterday at the age of 71. According to the Clearwater Police Department in Florida, he passed away on Thursday morning due to cardiac arrest. He was treated by a rescue crew before being taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. And of course, if you've watched wrestling over the years or if you've paid attention to any form of pop culture over the years, you've probably seen this man with the big mustache and the blonde hair and the red and yellow bandana or the black and white bandana, depending on when you got started in wrestling or whatever. And he had been in movies, he had been in commercials. This man basically, and I'm pretty sure you've heard a lot of people over the past 24 hours plus talk about how he revolutionized wrestling and made it more on the mainstream level of things when it came to the 1970s into the 80s. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of his accomplishments because there are people who are definitely going to talk about all the championships he's won, all the WrestleMania main events that he had, how he basically broke the world when he turned bad guy, even though he actually started as a heel at the beginning of his WWE career with Classy Freddie Blassie as his manager. My dad told me that um, tonight, and so many other things. But I can only talk about what this means for me and my experience. So, I was born in 1993. So, I didn't start watching wrestling with my dad until I was about 4 years old. So, the Hulk Hogan that everybody had witnessed throughout the 80s and everything with the red and yellow, I did not get. The first Hulk Hogan I ever saw was Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And the first match I ever saw him wrestling was against Goldberg at the Georgia Dome on WCW Nitro. Yeah, that's a pretty huge first match to start with, but that's really what my first match was because my dad taped it and I was watching it at my grandma's house, and that's how my wrestling fandom started. So it started with me getting exposed to Hulk Hogan as a bad guy. And during this time, of course, it was the height of the Monday Night Wars. Um, of course, my dad purchased so much NWO stuff that you could basically swim in it. And my grandma, God rest her, did not like Hulk Hogan growing up. Like she um did not like Hulk Hogan at all. She was a huge wrestling fan, and her favorite wrestler was Ric Flair. So yeah, my grandma knew ball in that way. So um, as I got older, however, as a wrestling fan, and noticed that Hulk Hogan had basically took a turn from being the bad guy Hogan that he once was back to the red and yellow Hogan. Um, that was when I kind of took a liking to him because, of course, I was a babyface girl. Still am very much a babyface girl. And everybody was cheering him. Everybody thought everything was cool and everybody was happy. And I was watching Hogan Knows Best with everyone, watching the reality show boom of the 2000s. You know, seeing all of that was a pretty colorful time to grow up in. It really was. And watching wrestling in conjunction to that, it just felt like you were in on a lot of the cool stuff on the reality show that not that many people would know about because they only watched the reality show side and not the wrestling side. And it felt like this was also in between the time he got inducted into the Hall of Fame too. So growing up in the 2000s, it seemed like it was cool to be a younger Hulk Hogan fan um at that point because he was getting his flowers for everything he had previously done. Of course, he had had his match with The Rock, which of course is labeled as legendary, and yeah, everything was going as smooth as it could go. He was popping up every now and again, wasn't wrestling anymore, and everything was fine, the older I got. But you fast forward to 2015, and that's when all of the crap hit the fan. Um, this is where the title of this episode, A Real American Requiem, sort of comes in because this was where my sort of happy image of him just destructed into a billion pieces because um I just remember him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame in conjunction with WrestleMania 21. And he had did that pose in front of the American flag, and everything was peppy, everything was cool. And I just didn't think anything could really burst that bubble at that point in my life. Cuz I was, a little bit older, getting ready to graduate from college, learning about myself, getting deeper into my identity as a black woman, at a liberal arts college at Berea, all the things and stuff. And then you hear tell that someone who you grew up watching and enjoying with your family members and, cracking up at and laughing about said incredibly unkind things about black men and just black people in general. And of course, I was angry, but I think the word that I have for it now is actually two words: disappointment and just anger. Because how could this man who would tell us to eat your vitamins and say your prayers and, you know, talk about how much he loved all his Hulkamaniacs say the N word in a video, in an audio, and talk about how terrible it would be if his daughter actually dated a black man, as if that's the worst thing in the world? That ripped my heart to shreds. And at one point, there was a point where a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, I don't want to believe it," and all this other stuff. But the audio was the audio, and it hurt so bad. And then what makes it even worse is, just like in this picture next to my head, it's like there are countless pictures of him in, sharing space with black talented people, rich, and all of the above, you know taking pictures with Dennis Rodman, shaking hands like they showed tonight on SmackDown with Arsenio Hall, who was like late night royalty at the time and an actor, sharing space with Mr. T and so many other black people. And and even in younger and also in more recent years, sharing space with people like Byron Saxton and all of the above. And yet you say things like that, and it's just the craziest thing on the planet. How do you do that? How do you work amongst black people for all of these years only to show your true colors, what you think is a safe space? But as it turns out, it becomes public, and then you want to sue the people who put it out there because you don't want to take accountability for it. It hurts so bad. Like, it just really hurts so bad because you don't wanna think that somebody that you've been watching on TV and enjoying on TV for so long wouldn't even look twice at you. You don't wanna think that, but that's just the truth of what happened. And then he doubled down on it even more, after his son got into an accident, and his biggest talking about how his biggest fear was them being reincarnated as black men. And then doubling down on it even further by supporting the current administration in office, which actively chooses to destroy and beat down on people of color all of the time. It is so hurtful, as a wrestling fan, but also as a black woman, to see someone go out like that, to see someone, blame it on so many different things, like my, um, like who I was surrounded by and my environment and all this other stuff. Like, it was so painful because even tonight in the tribute, they talked about how he was born in Augusta, Georgia. That's the South. Um, and as a Southern woman myself, of course, you know that there are a lot of feelings that some white Southern people have about Black people, and it's no secret at this point. It's historical knowledge. No matter how much they try to erase it, it's the truth. But you decide to get into a business and train with people that are from so many different backgrounds, and you hold these feelings in for God knows how long, and share spaces with all of these people who probably worked harder than you and probably had to work harder than you just to prove themselves. And this is what you do, and this is what you say. Then, to make it even worse, you not only harbored horrible feelings towards people of color and Black people specifically, you tried to undercut people who considered you friends for your own gain. Like, you're a union buster, and you stopped an initiative that could have saved countless wrestlers' lives, maybe even including yours. But yet somehow you ruined that. And there is the little girl me that will always hold on to the memory of watching him in WCW on those tapes with my father. I will always hold on to that in my mind. But then there's the 31, almost 32-year-old me that absolutely knows that this man was not the best. He was not a good person. And honestly, it breaks my heart, and then it also sort of upsets me as a Black person to see the amount of coverage about him from the regular media side, the pop culture media side, and also the wrestling media side, full of people talking about how his accomplishments are this, even though his politics were divided and all this other stuff. And the amount of people who are saying stuff like this are people who don't even have to think about it, because they have the privilege of not having to think about it because it doesn't directly affect them. It's not like he was calling those type of people, you know, horrible names and dehumanizing them and yet smiling in their faces. Because even in the tribute, you saw him taking pictures. The only clips that they showed in that tribute were him taking pictures with white fans, not with any Black ones. I didn't see any Hispanic ones. It was always the white fans, and those are the ones who are privileged enough, and the white pundits and other pundits as well, who are in privileged places, who have the luxury of saying his accomplishments were this big in comparison to how his politics were. But considering those level of politics and those harmful feelings do not affect you, of course you can sit by and say stuff like that. You can sit by and say, "Oh, well, it was this, but this was this." No. And you can't tell Black people or any person of color how to feel about it at all, because at the end of the day, if you have the privilege of not having been degraded by a word for hundreds of years, and having people say it to you in front of your face as well as say it about you behind your back to try to degrade you and make you seem like you are less than human, then you don't get to talk about it, and you don't get to tell people what they can and cannot feel offended by. And there are even people who are trying to excuse it low key and not standing on business, who also, want to just hang on, to what it meant to their childhood. I mean, yes, you can hang on to what it meant for nostalgia in your childhood, but at the end of the day, you have to come to grips with the fact that you have to put away childish things and understand that this man would not have even spit in your direction. He would not have hugged you. He would not have taken a picture with you. If he had hired you on for a job, or if he had somebody to hire you on for a job, and if he found out that you were black, he would have fired you, because that's exactly what he did to someone. And that's just the truth. And I am so sorry that this is us talking about him passing away. I never, ever want to take away, the pain of what that means, because I know what that feels like, even as recent as this year, having lost people that I care about, two people that I care about a whole lot. Um, I know what that pain is like. But the thing is, I don't, it's like I feel sad that a life has been lost, but I don't feel sad that that person led a life of trash and people are just expecting us to just erase it just because he's not here anymore. If you were trash in life, then people are going to talk about you the way that you treated them. And if you did not treat people the best, then that's a consequence that you have to deal with. And it seemed like he used a lot of his fame and a lot of his money and a lot of different things to cover up the idea that he was deeply flawed, and hide the fact, and hide behind all of that fame and money, because he was hide behind all of that to hide the fact that he was masking some serious demons. And because it's not with me, I can't deal with that. But I just know that as a black woman, the heroes that I look up to, I would hope that at this stage they wouldn't talk trash about me or make me feel like less than or whatever, because of the way that I look or the way that I sound or the way that my hair looks and all of the above. So I found Hulk Hogan as a villain in wrestling, and now we've reached the end of our journey together. And he was a villain at the end. And I hate that that's how it turned out, but he made his choice, and that's just all there is to it. So that's the end of how I feel about the situation. I'm so sorry that he's gone, and I'm sorry for the people that it directly affects. But as for me and my community, I have to take care of my black community. I have to take care of my woman community, and that's it. So, yeah, that's the end of the Real American Requiem. What a world. And in speaking of more people who left us this week, I do want to talk about Ozzy Osbourne, who is also a WWE Hall of Famer who we lost the day before, I believe Hulk Hogan passed. Um, he was, of course, the Prince of Darkness and the voice to a lot of people's childhoods in terms of heavy metal, with Black Sabbath, and of course with his own solo career. I ran up on him on the Osbournes reality show, because here again you have that reality TV boom that happened in the 2000s, with him and Sharon and all the stuff. But of course, he was a music icon at that point. He was in lots of different commercials from our childhoods and everything. So, um, it bummed me out when I found out that he had passed, especially given a few weeks ago he had basically like a Black Sabbath reunion concert in his home of Birmingham, England. So, I saw that he had been sick, but I was hoping, that somehow or another he would have a little bit longer with us. But sadly, that wasn't the case, and he passed. So, I want to say rest in peace to him. He did show up on Monday Night Raw a couple of times. It was also said that he was at WrestleMania 2 when he joined forces with Captain Lou Albano to manage the British Bulldogs as they captured the World Tag Team Championships, and he returned several times in the 2000s to perform his latest single, and he was the guest host for Raw's Got Talent in the 2000s as well. And of course, he is the voice of the War Pigs song, which is the theme song to Survivor Series War Games every year. So big ups to him, rest in peace to him, and I hope he's rocking and rolling wherever he's at. And I'm sending prayers and love and light to his family because they really loved him a lot. Um, and I might actually watch The Osbournes at some point because that show, and looking at the clips of it again, because I hadn't watched it in years, it looks really funny. And I feel like to watch it with an adult mind would probably be a hoot. So, yeah, sending love and peace to the Osbournes. And of course, even though this has nothing to do with wrestling, Malcolm Jamal Warner passed this week as well in a freak accident on the beach at Costa Rica with his family, and I'm sending love and prayers to them as well. But he was a pillar in the black community as the actor who played the role of Theo in the Cosby Show. And for all of its controversy and everything, he was one of the most talented um people on the planet because not only was he an actor, he also did spoken word. He also played the bass guitar. He had a band and he just did a lot of different things. And he was one of those Cosby kids who I enjoyed watching a lot of, after the fact and after watching the show in syndication because he was always doing something positive and always just sharing his different levels of talent. You can never put him in a box, and I appreciated that about him so much. And I've heard nothing but nice things about him from various actors that I've enjoyed over the years, and he will definitely be missed. And I'm just sending love and light to his wife and his child because it seemed like they, had started a relatively young life together, um, and you hope that you have all the time in the world with somebody that you love like that. But that accident happened and it just knocked the wind out of me. It broke my heart. This has just been a very emotional and taxing week as a whole. And it started with him. So rest in peace to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Sending love and light to every person who's ever worked with him and all of the above. And I hope that he finds peace on the other side and that Ozzy Osbourne finds peace on the other side. Um, yeah. So now moving more into other news and gossipish. Elena Black, formerly known as Cora Jade in WWE NXT, announced this week that she is stepping away from professional wrestling for the foreseeable future. She wrote a message on Instagram saying, I originally had a 10-minute video explaining where my head's at, and maybe eventually I'll post it, but it seems unnecessary for now. I'll keep it short, but I'm going to be taking a break from wrestling for the foreseeable future. It's no longer good for my mental health, and I'll never know if that love for it I once had will return if I don't step away. I'm going to take the rest of the year to take care of me and go from there. I apologize to the fans and promoters who are looking forward to slash booked my upcoming appearances. I hope you can understand. To my supporters, thank you. Signed Bree slash Elena, let go or be dragged. Now, when I saw this made me so sad. Because she had to fight through a lot of things during her time at NXT. She had to fight through at one point, I believe, body shaming, through another health issue that was just very tragic for a young lady to have to go through. She had to fight through so many different things in order to even, be on television. So the idea of her having to go through that, plus being released on top of that, and then still trying to push through with a wrestling career, I don't blame her for taking a mental health break, honestly, because sometimes sometimes in life we tend to go and push ourselves so fast until we realize that, oh, I really can't go anymore. I don't know if I love this anymore. I need some time to think. I need some time to breathe. I need a break. And if a break is what she needs, then that's exactly what she needs. And I saw a lot of people on social media. I saw people reacting to men on social media, shaming her for it, and also shaming her for possibly also being an OnlyFans model. And I'm gonna need for all of y'all to just get a life, because however these people need to feed themselves and feed their family, there's no shame in it. So stop trying to shame these women or shame these men for doing it as like a form of a job. Like, leave these folks alone. um People are trying to survive and eat out here, and you out here trying to make fun of them on social media. Like, get a life, touch some grass, or check into a hotel, do something fun with your life, but just leave these people alone, because you tend to forget these are human beings, and their lives are just as important still. And if she needs a break, then by all means, she deserves to take a break. So big ups to Elena Black. I hope she continues to recover in the best way that she can. And if it's truly meant for her to come back, she'll come back swinging. And if not, then that's fine too, because I would prefer for her to still be okay, as opposed to just trying to push through and not be okay, because that can lead to so many different things. So big ups to her for knowing what she needs for herself. Also, we have another rumor about Travis Scott possibly falling out with the WWE. This kind of shocked me today. I was just like, what? So, of course, he was featured in different spots on WWE TV, of course, most famously when it came to the heel turn of John Cena in February at Elimination Chamber. And then, of course, his place at WrestleMania 41, where he got physical with Cody Rhodes, causing him to lose the WWE Championship, which broke my heart, but whatever. um, it seems that according to Dave Meltzer, who we do still have to take with a grain of salt these days, Travis Scott was originally scheduled to be the celebrity surprise included in one of the DLC packs for WWE 2K25, but it was not yet confirmed publicly. But apparently they fell out, and it was noted that the nature of which hasn't gotten out yet, but it's why it's open season to start knocking him and dissing him on television. But here's the thing. My thing is, if you really don't know exactly what's going on, then don't speak about it, because I also feel like if it was that much of a falling out, then maybe they would have changed the theme song of Monday Night Raw or something like that, but I don't know. And then the last rumor I heard about him was the fact that he was training for an in-ring appearance, which I actually would have been okay with, because I mean he has been consistently, had been popping up a lot and everything, so I would have been okay with it. But, I hope there isn't a complete falling out from it, because there was a level of enjoyment that he was getting. So hopefully they'll work some stuff out. But yeah, you just never know. Um, Also, in talking about celebrities, get a female celebrity in the ring, please. So, yeah. Also in the news today, AJ Mendez made her appearance at San Diego Comic-Con, and she had different signings and stuff. So she actually spoke at Comic-Con, and she was asked if she missed the fan interaction and the physicality of wrestling. And she answered by saying, quote, "That's a really interesting question because they are two totally different things. My fans are like pieces of my family. They have been My mission in doing everything in the public sphere is to help make people feel less alone and help wonderful weirdos realize that underdogs are cool and we can be the stars of our own stories. And things that you are insecure about can be your greatest strengths in this world. That has been my mission statement. The group of fans that have kept with me these past 10 years have helped me feel less alone. I don't know if they realize that. We sort of share this mission statement in life, and I've seen them go out and become adults that become wrestlers or get into the mental health field as well. It is the most beautiful thing in the world. I love them, and I feel like I say so close to them always. They are a piece of my heart. I do miss having that direct connection where I can see them every week. The really cool thing is when I do mental health keynote speeches, wrestling fans will show up at these medical conferences. You guys are the most beautiful people in the world. It really is a family bond. The physicality I was so afraid to do in Heels, the TV show that was on Stars that she was in. It was the first time I wrestled in 8 years and my body bounced right back. It was like riding a bike, a really painful bike. The physicality is fun. So, of course, in the midst of her, being a mental health advocate and also popping up at Comic Cons because she is a writer of her own comic book with Amy Garcia. She does these, she actually did heels and I love how she talked about how that was her first time in the ring in 8 years and how it was sort of like a painful bike, but it was good to get back in the swing of things. And something that people always have a tendency to leave out is the fact that she did return to wrestling shortly when she was the executive producer and color commentator for Wow Women of Wrestling. Because she was doing that when me and Katrina started covering it. So a lot of people tend to leave that out, and I really wish they wouldn't, but I don't know. But either way, I do miss her commentary on WoW, and a lot of people speculated that she would have had a place in Evolution because WWE Vault actually released a whole compilation video of the rise of AJ Lee, and it sent everybody into a tizzy like, oh my God, AJ is going to be in Evolution. And as amazing as that would have been, as someone who was there and stuff, um, it just seems that she's okay with not being in the swing of the wrestling stuff, especially, with that and then also with CM Punk being and everything too. So I don't know. I just feel like people, the fandom of wrestling, we do miss her. I do miss her too. But at the same time, she's doing her own thing and that's okay. And if she chooses to come back, like I always say, we'll be right here waiting and we'll scream over it, we'll celebrate and all of the things. So, yeah. AJ, if you want to come back, take your time. Um, please take your time. Don't rush. But if you do decide to come back, I'll be happy. So, yeah, that was cool. And lastly, in news and gossipish, we had Priscilla Kelly, formerly known as Gigi Dolan, go on Soraya/Paige's podcast called Rule Breakers, and she opened up about what life has been like since she was also released from WWE and NXT as well. And she stated that she wants to go anywhere that gives her the opportunity to keep growing her brand and get to that point where I can afford these goals of mine of taking care of my family. I just want to go where I can have fun. And she stated, she continued by saying, the thing that sucks is right before I got released, I was having the most fun of my career. My time in NXT was very rocky. I never talked about this, but I went through a bad depression phase working there. It wasn't particularly because of anything. I was such a creative person on the indies, and when I went to WWE, it was a whole new thing for me to work that 9 to 5 heavy workload schedule and be told what I could and couldn't do a lot. There was some other stuff too, but I went through a really bad depression and kind of lost who I was. I wasn't sure of myself anymore. I got injured, I tore my meniscus in training, and it was one of those things that snowballed after that. Um, when I came back from my injury, I got to team with Shotzi, which we wanted to do for a while. They put us with Tatum Paxley, and as soon as we went out there together, it immediately clicked. We had all this chemistry. It looked good, it felt good, we had fun. Before we went out and when we came back, we were still laughing and having fun. That was the first time I genuinely experienced the best sisterhood in wrestling. Um, there had been bits of that through my career, but this was different. We all felt it. And then when she was asked if she was giving a reason for her release, she said, I didn't get an answer. I was very close with some of the coaches at the Performance Center. Some of them reached out to me, and I was like, I want somebody to tell me what it was so I can learn from it and make adjustments so this doesn't happen or I can grow. Nobody had an answer for me. a lot of times I don't think the people down in NXT even know. I think it's a higher up thing. Some of the people I was close with at NXT were pretty devastated about it. She also said that being released is like losing a family because you get to know the people at the PC and see them every day, and then you are no longer there. That upset me really bad because I was a big Gigi Dolan fan. I loved what she brought to Toxic Attraction. I loved everything that she had. I loved her look. I mean, I loved her energy. Like when she got it really devastated me because once Mandy Sachs got released after everything that happened with her, there was always the talk of what was going to happen with JC Jane and what was going to happen with Gigi Dolan slash Priscilla Kelly. And once Toxic Attraction as a tag team had broken up, there was all of this talk about what was going to happen, with this one, what was going to happen with that one, who's going to be, sadly, the Marty Jannetty or who's going to be the Shawn Michaels of the situation. And it was so terrible that people were even making those comparisons. Um, and I never thought that Gigi would ever be let go. Like, I just thought that maybe she was going to have a future. And even to a degree, she thought that. Like, she thought that at some point, maybe she would even get called up. And she had been down in NXT for a while. Like, there was a point where I even thought all of Toxic Attraction as a whole would have gotten called back up in the case of Mandy and the other girls would have gotten called up with her. But sadly, that didn't happen. And it was just like, God dang, it's a very cutthroat business at times. But the thing about wrestling that I always say that I am happy about is that there's always different ways of people to succeed. And she is someone who I never get tired of watching wrestle and watch work and everything. So I'm wishing the very best for her, and I'm hoping that she can still have that level of sisterhood and connection with the girls and everything. And I just hope that all of her dreams and goals do come true because she deserves it, and she deserves to live a peaceful and loving life with her family, and also with her fiance Zachary Wentz from TNA. So yeah, big ups to them. And that's really all for news and gossipish. I hated to have to start off really sad and everything, but that's just the nature of how this week was. I just had to start off that way. So now we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And this is also sort of reaching back into last week because I know I didn't do an episode, but I was recovering from my trip to Atlanta as well as working. So I have to address the fact that the Raw after Evolution took place in my hometown of Birmingham, and I am so happy that 10,000 people showed up. I am so happy that 10,000 people showed up to the Legacy Arena at the BJCC to see Raw on Netflix the night after Evolution. A night where the women basically took over the first hour. That would happen when I'm not there, but it's okay because I am just so thrilled and I'm so happy that we got that episode. I'm glad that they highlighted Birmingham. I'm glad that, we had such a great episode. And on top of that, that the episode started with Naomi after, of course, she cashed in her money in the bank and became the main girl villain on Raw with the women's world title and rubbing it in Rhea and Io's face. Like, that was just incredible. Like, I was so happy for us, happy for everyone who got to go. And and then of course, Roman Reigns came back that night too. He made his big return in Birmingham. That's the second time something like that has happened in Birmingham where a big thing happened with Roman and stuff. Because last year, of course, if you may or may not remember, the We Want Cody movement basically got its jumping off point in Birmingham because The Rock came back. And, we thought we were getting The Rock versus Roman, but of course, everybody was like, we want Cody, and everything changed. So, yeah, and now we got the return of Roman and the night after Evolution. I'm so proud of us. I'm so happy. Um And for those who are wondering where I was at, I wasn't there because I went to see Beyonce. I was still in Atlanta. I was still in Atlanta after Evolution. I went to see Beyonce, had the time of my life. So yeah, I'm just very thrilled that we had that opportunity. And hopefully, fingers crossed, prayers up, we can get a PLE or at least a Saturday night's main event. WWE, please give Birmingham a PLE or a Saturday night's main event or even an NXT event. Please, 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 please. But yeah, I'm just happy about that. But moving into I went too fast. Moving into what I loved in wrestling this week. On Monday Night Raw with the women, Naomi, the women's world champion, got in Stephanie Vaquer's face and proceeded to butcher her name in like the craziest way ever. Like, cause Stephanie was in an interview, I believe, with Byron Saxton, and then Naomi called her name Stephanie Vaquer, and I was like, y'all just ain't gonna do her last name right at all. And then she proceeded to get in her face and everything because, of course, Stephanie now has an opportunity at whatever title she wants, I guess, at Clash in Paris. And Naomi was like, well, if you're looking to come over here, you need to proceed with caution and all of the above. And then she was stirring the pot between her and Io Sky, of course, who she had just cashed in on the night before, well, last weekend. And she was saying, well, I know you never defeated Io. Y'all never got to finish y'all match. So maybe you want to go finish that and then maybe I'll see you in Paris. So this was interesting. I am very excited to see this match if it does happen at some point. But of course, with Naomi stirring the pot between Stephanie and Io, we got that match on Raw Monday. And when I tell you, I believe it is virtually impossible for Io and Stephanie to have a bad match against each other. I was glued to the TV. Do you understand me? Glued to the TV watching them fight. And what made me so upset was that as the match could have gotten to a finish, you see the Secret Harvest come out and finish their business with Stephanie that happened the Monday before at the Monday after with the Raw after Evolution. And then the match went to a no contest again. And I was just like, we are never going to finish this somehow. It's so crazy. But then, of course, as they were ganging up on Stephanie, Io actually helped, and they was also ganging up on Io, and out pops Rhea Ripley with a Rhea Ripley Houston Rockets shirt, which was really cute and everything. And then they evened up the odds. So maybe at some point we'll get like a 6-woman tag between Chelsea and the Secret Harvest versus Rhea, Stephanie, and Io. I don't know. But either way, that was really fantastic. And the match before it was fantastic. I can't wait until Stephanie and Io actually get to a definitive finish because those two are magic together. Just straight up magic. I can't wait. So, yeah. Then, of course, you have all the drama involving Lyra Valkyria and the women's intercontinental champion, Becky Lynch. The way she won that triple threat match at Evolution was so slick. It was so slick to even witness like firsthand that I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, like it ended so quick. Like, um, if I talk about Evolution when I'm talking about the women, it's because I'm still not over it. I'm not over it, and I don't think I'm gonna be over it for the rest of my life. But that match was fantastic, and of course, Lyra Valkyria became the number one contender after beating Bayley in a 2 out of 3 falls match at the Raw after Evolution. And it upsets some people, but of course, these two have a lot of bad blood with each other. So they got in each other's faces. Becky Lynch was talking about how she really could have been at the premiere of Happy Gilmore too because she was in the movie, but no, she had to be here in Houston or whatever, and she proceeded to run down Lyra. But then of course Lyra decided to get in her face, and then as they got to fighting when Becky tried to sneak her, she actually gave Becky a manhandle slam, and I was like, "Ooh, not you giving her a manhandle slam. Lord Jesus, how the turntables." That was really funny for me. So yeah, I can't wait to see how this match turns out. But I do still wonder about the trajectory of Bailey when it comes to this, because even though I understand that Lyra and Bailey having a 2 out of 3 falls match, was a cool way of trying to figure out who was going to be the number one contender, I would have been okay if they decided to like run back the triple threat from Evolution at SummerSlam. Like I would have been perfectly fine with that because that match was fantastic. It was such a fantastic opening to Evolution that if they decided to do yet another triple threat, it would have been fine. But then again, they have so many matches over the weekend and maybe they just didn't want to tire us out or something. But either way, I was just like, look, what's going on with my girl Bailey? What's going on with her? And in speaking of Bailey, it's like I know people had a lot of different feelings about her not being in the match, or whatnot, but at the same time, and there are even people on the internet who are calling for Bailey to even leave WWE at this point because they feel like they're only using her as a good hand. And I don't want to believe that. Because I've seen this narrative over the past 2 years where people really feel like, oh, they only use Bailey as a hand and they don't see her as like the box office attraction like the other horsewomen and stuff like that. And I just don't want to believe that because that's just never how I saw Bailey ever. Even when she was the hugger, yeah, she had a tough trajectory with that on the main roster and everything. But at the same time, I never wanted to believe that she couldn't be destined for big things like the other horsewomen have been. And I feel like her leaving isn't always the answer. People leaving isn't always the answer all the time. It might be the answer for some people, but it's not always the answer for everybody. And I feel like her sort of crashing out in this tag team match she had with Lyra for the tag team titles is sort of her way of showing that she's about to go in another direction and maybe we should trust it instead of just jumping to is this the end? Let's just chill. Um so yeah, and it would almost be poetic if she were to go in a completely different direction involving SummerSlam because that was where she came back with Damage Control and basically shook up the foundation of everything. So, hey, let's just wait and see first before we, just start, screaming bloody murder about things. So, yeah. Um there's a part of me that still would have liked for her to have been in that um IC title picture, but there's still something else there that I feel like we're not seeing or missing. So we'll get the answer. But we just got to keep watching. Now, so let's move on to the men of Monday Night Raw. Of course, the New Day are. I just have something to say, and I know this is going to sound really thirstastic, but Xavier Woods has just been help. He has just been looking all kinds of fine lately since he's turned heel. He started wearing trunks that show off his thighs and everything. He's been showing his muscles or whatnot. He has the Majin tattoo and he just been on 10. And Kofi, he never ages. So really the both of them have been going ham with their looks ever since they turned heel. But the thing that gagged me about them after they lost the contenders match on Raw was the fact that they kept saying that they need something, and their answer was to bring in Grayson Waller. Excuse me? Out of all the people you want to bring in Grayson Waller? Remember what happened the last time y'all brought in somebody like that wasn't Big E and it was Kevin Owens and he wound up destroying you guys? I feel like this is another direction this is gonna go. And then with Grayson Waller just saying he just abandoned Austin Theory so he had time for them, I was just like, so you just gonna leave Austin Theory? So that's just gonna be the end of A Town Down Under? Because for a while I was hoping, that with the tension that they were teasing in the episodes, that maybe Austin and Grayson were gonna have like a beef or something, but that wound up not being the case because he said Austin was injured. And I was just like, what? Because I could have swore he was just on main event like a few weeks ago. But I don't know. I don't know. It just made me feel so sad. And I just want it made me feel so sad. And all I want is the best for Austin Theory because my theory about Austin Theory is that I feel like he would just benefit from a face turn because here lately on social media he's been posting all kinds of motivational messages and everything. So I'm sitting here like, okay, well, if you're doing all this, then how is this going to translate to television? Make it translate to TV. Be happy babyface because I will definitely get behind that. Where in the world is Austin Theory? Please bring him back. I feel like there's going to be a common theme within the rest of this episode where there are a lot of men who I'm looking for. So, yeah. Austin Theory, please come home. Please. I miss you. Handle your business. And another thing I liked for Monday Night Raw was the fact that the LWO became the number one contenders for the World Tag Team titles. They have been a good tag team for so long, but they always wound up getting undercut by either the Judgment Day or the New Day and other people and stuff like that. And I was just so happy to see them finally get an opportunity like this because come on, they've just been so good. Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wild have been kicking all kinds of butt. Like, and I was just so happy to see them get a win. It's always so often that we would see LWO get the short end of the stick. So it was just really great to see them get this opportunity. Will they win? I'm not entirely sure because y'all know the Judgment Day, they like to play dirty. But I definitely know they're going to give it a really great try. But I would love it if they did win because, oh my God, that would be amazing for them because I love the LWO. And I miss Rey Mysterio, but this was great. I enjoyed this very much. I was very happy about this. And then another thing I love from Monday Night Raw was just AJ Styles tormenting Dirty Dominic Mysterio, even while he was getting in women's business, which he really has no business doing. Um, he kept getting in Dominic's face because he wants to keep teasing him until he finally gives him his tag team title opportunity. And Dominic did jump him backstage and say, "Fine, I am clear. Let's fight at SummerSlam." Blah blah blah. So they have their IC title match next weekend. But I can't help but feel that with AJ Styles returning to TNA Slammiversary like he did last weekend, I don't know. I just would have liked it better if he had gotten Trick Williams' face. Like I really feel like later, of course, I'm gonna talk about Trick Williams and the Undertaker, but I would have liked it better if AJ Styles was in Undertaker's place on NXT and got in his face and said, "You are not TNA. I am TNA bread. Let's go." But I don't know. I guess we're just going in a different direction. But either way, AJ being goofy with Dirty Dominic has been really funny and it's been cracking me up. So I like it. Now, moving into the NXT side of things, I did enjoy seeing Hank and Tank and Sol Ruka, the women's North American champion and the women's speed champion, and Zarya tag team with Hank and Tank. Like, this was really fun. I enjoyed the match that they had with the culling, even though I was sad that the lights went out because of Dark State, and then Tatum actually took advantage and got the win for the culling and stuff. I enjoyed seeing them fight. I never get tired of watching Sol Ruka and Zarya together, and it will bum me out when they do, or if they do break up. I don't want them to, but if they do, it'll definitely hurt me, because they're just so cute together and they just have such great chemistry. But my God, they just haven't really been on the same page lately, especially since Zarya speared Soul again at Evolution. So oh my God, help. But I just want Izzy Dame to leave Tatum Paxley alone because she's just taking advantage of the fact that Tatum doesn't have any friends right now. And she's just like, "Oh, I'll be your friend." And then she just added her to the culling because they got rid of Brooks Jensen. And it's just like, bruh, Izzy, you are not friends with her. You do not like her. You're a snob. Um like it's just she's just using her like a puppet. And I'm just gonna need for Tatum Paxton to actually stand on her own 2 feet on her own and not just be so dependent on others and just fight on her own for now. I know it sucks that her friends got taken away, but she needs to rise and be her own lady. So yeah. Also, when it comes to NXT, hold on, moving some stuff around. I loved the interaction that Lash Legend. Well, before I get to Lash Legend, I got to talk about JC Jane. Miss Ma'am is now a double champion. She is the NXT Women's Champion and the TNA Knockouts Champion, and that is a heck of an accomplishment. Not that many people can say that they've been a double champion in NXT, but she definitely can. And then she's a champion on two different brands, so that's pretty lit for someone who a lot of people kind of consider the third wheel. So, I love that for her. It's amazing. Even though I did predict that at Evolution she was going to lose to Jordan Grace, Blake Monroe messed that all the way up. But we'll get to her in a minute. But when JC Jane was cutting her promo on Tuesday, it was definitely giving I'm doing all the work and none of my fatal influence girls have been helping me. And you could tell that Fallon and Jasmine were very irritated by that. They was just like, look, you sitting here acting like you did all this by yourself, but her one match where she beat Masha Slamovich by herself. I mean, yeah, she did that on her own, but when she won the NXT title, it was because Fallon interfered on her behalf and she took advantage over Stephanie Vaquer. So JC Jane is getting too big in the britches, and I'm pretty sure at some point Jasmine and Fallon are gonna walk out on her. And it bums me out that Fallon started being the ace in the hole for JC, considering at one point she kept saying Fallon comes first, but then you're putting another girl first. It's just kind of weird, but whatever. Um, I was happy that after all of that drama ensued, Lash Legend came out and was just like, look, I am standing up for my chance at the NXT Women's title because at Evolution I made all these big eliminations. I eliminated Nia Jax, I eliminated Nikki Bella. It's my time to shine, and I love that for her because Miss Mamas really could have been a women's tag team champion if Mara Sadé was still there. But they never really got that chance, and now of course Mara Sadé is in TNA now. But Lash should have been had some gold at some point. So the idea that now she's going for the NXT title or maybe even going for it all would make me so happy. But then you have Miss Jada Parker who comes out and starts, jaw jacking, saying how she's next in line and all of the above. And the thing that bums me out about Jada Parker is that she will get all these great opportunities at, the NXT Women's title and wound up losing all the time. And it's just like, girl, what is going to make this time different? Because yes, your performance in the Evolution Battle Royal was impressive. I will give you that much. But every time you jaw jack your way into these women's title pictures in NXT, you always wind up losing, and it makes me wonder, when are you going to stop talking so much and actually, you know, back up what you say. Like, I don't know. It's just aggravating for me. But the thing that I do love right now is the fact that we do have two black women trying to go for the NXT title, as well as possibly the TNA Knockouts title, because when it comes to the very last black NXT women's champion that they had, it was literally Athena. Athena was the last black NXT women's champion they had. And I'm gonna need for them to fix that right now. And these are the type of women that they can fix that with. I mean, they could fix it with Kaylani, they could fix it with Jada, but they could most definitely fix it with Lash because she has been hungry for an opportunity for a long time. And Jada has had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity constantly. And yeah, it's Lash's time. It is Lash Legend time. Also, I just loved how her and Trick Williams were both dressed up like they left the Cowboy Carter concert. It was really cute. But they were in Houston, Texas, which is the home of Beyonce, home of Cowboy Carter. So that was cool. But yeah, it's Lash's time. Then I also love the presence that the LFG coaches are having on NXT. And Michelle McCool popped up back there with Fatal Influence, and that was really interesting. So I thought this was really refreshing, and I just love how good she looks, even, after all these years. So, a big ups to Michelle. Lash Legend Supremacy. And now, when it comes to Blake Monroe, she had her first WWE NXT match this week. And I really don't have much to say about her in-ring performance because it was pretty solid. And of course, if you've watched her wrestle at New Japan or watched her wrestle in Stardom or watched her wrestle in AEW, then you know what her style is. So I won't go too deep off into that. But what I will say is Miss Mama's entrance, her entrance is nuts. And I just love how creative it is, and I just love how girly it is. It's just definitely giving Barbie girl, Sabrina Carpenter vibes. And I just love theatrical stuff like that. Like, I know a lot of people might not like a whole lot of presentation stuff like that, but when you're watching TV, you want to see something that's going to catch your eye. And Blake Monroe's entrance was really eye-catching and very cutie and girly. And I feel like all levels of womanhood deserves to be represented um in sports and even in wrestling as a whole. So this was really cute. I loved also the segment she had with Jordan Grace when they went to the spa and everything. That was really amazing. I like that level of femininity as well. You can be strong and beautiful. And I think that's the message that Blake Monroe is kind of giving at this stage in her career. And I like that. So it was cute. I liked it. Now, moving to the men of NXT, like I said, Trick Williams, the TNA champion, is really feeling himself. He was even on Raw on Netflix saying that the Undertaker's knees are about to give out any day now or whatever. And I was just like, bruh, why would you say that about him? And then the Undertaker was like, okay, if you want to mess with my LFG kids, then I'm going to get in your face. And that's basically what happened here. Trick Williams definitely held his own. I was so proud of him. I was just like, "That's it, Trick. Hold your own against the American Badass." And that's exactly what he did. Um, but of course, Undertaker was like, "Look, I'll make you famous." And that's exactly what he did. He choke slammed him and Trick sold it so well. The face he made when he laid flat was so hilarious. He was like, Trick makes me laugh so much because he is just so extra, and he's been like that forever. Before he really got in his in-ring bag, he definitely like had the personality on lock, and he has a swagger and he has the braggadocio and everything, and it's just so funny. He's so funny to me. So after this happened and after he stood his own against the Undertaker, I said to myself, you know what, Trick, you got it. You'll be fine. You are just fine in this business. I'm so happy he's here. I'm so happy that Trick is there. Um, I'm so happy that Trick is in NXT. I'm happy he exists. So, yeah, this brought me a lot of joy. I enjoyed it very much. And I actually said to myself, I feel like Trick should be grateful he didn't choke slam him off of a Hell in a Cell. And that's all I had to say about that. So yeah, um, Trick is in pretty good standing at this point, and he'll be fine. So yeah, I'm grateful for Trick. Now moving into AEW Dynamite with the women, I will say this. I am so happy that Athena is being highlighted on television. Of course, she did win the women's gauntlet match, the first ever women's gauntlet match at that, I think. At All in Texas. That was the same weekend as Evolution. There was a lot of wrestling going on that weekend. It was crazy. But I'm so happy that she won, and I'm happy that she is still the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, the forever champion, and she's being heavily featured on AEW television now because for a very long time, people complained about her presence not being, prevalent on the show and mostly just relegated to just Ring of Honor, which is behind the paywall for a lot of people. But I am happy that we are getting to see her because she has that contract that she could sign at any point to get a title match against Timeless Tony Storm. But there's just a part of me that's just wondering how this is gonna go over with Mercedes Moné. Um, and I just don't know. I just don't know. But I'm just really happy that Athena is being featured on television more often because she deserves that. She is too talented to just be in one place. You can't just pigeonhole her. She deserves to be everywhere, and I'm just so happy to see that. Now, hopefully, we'll get the same from my girl Deonna Purrazzo because Miss Ma'am, the virtuosa, the representative for SNHU, Miss Mamas, has been wrestling everywhere but on AEW television, and that needs to be rectified immediately. Her versus Mercedes would feed families in terms of submissions, and I'm just gonna need for something to actually shake for her real quick because she is far too talented and far too amazing and far too gorgeous to just not be on AEW television. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I'm pretty sure if my girl Nikki Bougie were here, she would not like it. She would not like this at all. So, yeah, get it together, AEW. Put Deonna Purrazzo on TV, please. Also, big ups to Deonna because she had a match against Jordan. I mean, not Jordan, I'm sorry. I'm about to call him his wife's name. Jonathan Gresham. And he deserves to be on TV more often too. So get these folks on TV because they talented. And then of course my goat, who I am just so proud of, regardless of how All in Texas went. Oh, my baby, Mercedes Moné is still the Rev Pro UK undisputed British women's world champion. She had a match today and she won. She's still the champion. So she is still currently the holder of 6 titles. And I'm still very much happy that she is going around the world and having matches against these women who have probably dreamed of facing off against her for years and have worked up for a huge opportunity like this. I love this for her. I love this for them. But I want my girl to get the big one. And I know Athena has that contract, but dang it, I want my Mercedes to have another big title while she has all the other titles. So, yeah, my GOAT deserves it all, like Kendrick Lamar. Give her everything. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm proud of her regardless. It don't matter. That's my GOAT for life. And then of course in TNA, I love that Mara Sadé, who was formerly known as Jakara Jackson in NXT, got signed to TNA, and she actually helped bring a victory to the Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics in TNA. So I'm really happy that she's been given a chance here and a new lease on life. She is a goal digger, GOAL digger, and I am just so happy that she is having more of an opportunity to shine elsewhere. Because she was another person who I hated that got released because her, like I said earlier, her and Lash Legend were amazing as the Meta Girls. Um, and I really felt that they really could have carried the women's tag team championships, but sadly that wasn't to be. But I am happy that at the very least she can get a fresh start in TNA. And for all we know, her and Lash might bump into each other again. You never know. But either way, I'm happy that she got this debut and everything. So, yay, Mara. Now, moving into the SmackDown side of things, of course, the episode was, sprinkled in with tributes to that man. But let's talk about the women first. We had Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair backstage having a touching moment while Alexa was bleeding out from her match that she had with Roxanne Perez. And of course, Raquel Rodriguez came out there with her um, to basically kind of just help her cheat. But basically, after the match was over, Roxanne won and everything, which kind of gave them the upper hand leading into their match at SummerSlam. Charlotte and Alexa had a touching moment backstage, and I love this gradual growth of friendship between the two. And I love that we're seeing more of Charlotte be um less regal and just kind of more of a fun girl. Cause she came out there with the pom poms the same way that Alexa came out with the pom poms for her. And it was just really cute. Plus, it was really cool to see Alexa have that moment in Ohio because she's from there. Of course, she wasn't from Cleveland, but she's from Columbus. But it was cool to see her get that Ohio pop. And then we had this run in with Jade and Tiffany. Jade had a funny matchup with Chelsea Green because, of course, Chelsea decided to go backstage and throw shade at Jade using the man child lyrics from Sabrina Carpenter. And Jade walked up behind her, and then Chelsea was like, "She is right behind me, isn't she?" And, and then Kathy Kelly moved out of the way, and Jade proceeded to beat up on her. And what was so funny was Chelsea was getting beat up on in Gorilla, and then she got beat, and then she turned around and hit the wall, and then just kept running after she hit the wall, and it was just so funny. It was like the definition of that TikTok sound where Helen Baylor said in that gospel song, and my head hit the wall. Boom! But I had a praying grandmother. That's kind of what it was. Chelsea is so silly, and I hope she never changes. But Jade winds up beating up on Chelsea. But then the secret Hervis winds up, jumping her from behind, and then Tiffany came to help. But of course, since they have a match at SummerSlam for the women's championship, Jade got a hold of that title and started feeling herself a little bit. And Tiffany was like, okay, give me my title. Give it back. Give it back. Give it back. So, um, I can't wait for this match. I'm glad that Jay won Queen of the Ring. Um, Now I will say Naomi cashing in on Io and Rhea definitely, let us know that we didn't have the answers because WWE is really good at letting us know that we ain't got the answers. Sway. So to the whole Jade and Tiffany match, it's cool because, I'm pretty sure that they will have some words leading into next weekend. But I was hoping maybe they would have more of a fierce run in this time, but I don't know. Everything just seems very slammed together with the scheduling of everything. But either way, I'm still excited for this match. And if Jade wins the title, I'll be happy. So yeah. And then another reason why I was happy, Lord, Lord, hold up. Hold up, because y'all gonna have to see my face when I say this. Zelina got in the face of Julia and told her that she wants her rematch for the Women's United States Championship. And I was glad because at Evolution, she eliminated the crap out of Julia and yelled at her with like a guttural scream. And I was like, yes, Zelina, take your place, take your place. And I would have loved it if she won the Battle Royal, but she didn't, sadly. But it's okay because Zelina is still out here trying to get her things. And she has this darker look going on. And I'm just like, yes, I'm here, right here with you. I'm right here with you, girl. But we got a visitor here to shake things up. And that's Kiana James, who is finally on the main roster television. Thank God. Thank God for black women. She is back. She is back and she is actually representing Julia. And she said, look, if you're going to want to face her, you're going to have to go through the proper channels, which are through me. And I'm like, okay, Kiana, you basically are like her representation, like her attorney or whatever. Kind of like, okay, Kiana, I like it. But Zelina gagged me when she called her clipboard Karen. And I said, Zelina, you did not have to gather her like that. Clipboard Karen. I can't. And of course, next week they will be having their rematch. But I just got this weird feeling that Kiana gonna get involved somehow. It's just gonna be some mess. So stop playing with my girl. Let her have her thing. I love you, Zelina. Get your things back, please. Please get your things back. So I was happy about that. Yay, Kiana. Oh, now I know people have their mixed feelings about Jelly Roll. Being in the mix of things in terms of celebrity fighters, and then on top of that, feeling like other superstars are being left out. But when I tell you he ate Logan Paul up on the microphone, he ate him up on the microphone. Like, it's like for all of the insults that Logan Paul kept throwing at Jelly Roll and everything by calling him a redneck and all that, Jelly Roll ate him alive. And I'm just sitting here like, Logan, how is it that you've been kind of on the main roster part time for a lot longer than Jelly Roll has been, but yet Jelly Roll is getting you together? It's that Southern. It's that Southern. That's what I really feel like it is. He been practicing. He been in his Zoom, and I like that. Jelly Roll ate him up. Like, if you haven't watched it, please go back and watch this episode of SmackDown because Jelly Roll really held his own on that microphone. It was lit. And he was talking about how he represents, the little guy and represents the people who were picked on by guys like Logan Paul who were privileged with a silver spoon in their mouth, like the jocks. And then he definitely ate him up when he said that he was um an asshole who empowers other assholes to get on camera and act like assholes. And I was just like, where's the lie? Where is the lie? I can't find it. I can't find the lie. So Jelly Roll, you clocked him. That was funny. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. And then Randy Orton came out here in this T-shirt that said RKO everybody. And when I tell you, I need this shirt. I need it. I need this shirt. I feel like me and my boyfriend need these shirts to match with because I'm feeling sentimental because our anniversary is Tuesday and we've been together 13 years. And Randy Orton is the reason why he and I are together. Um and I just feel like us having these t-shirts would just be so amazing because um backstory, when my boyfriend and I started talking, he made a status about the RKO. And I commented under it, and we have been talking ever since. And so, for us to have a matching Randy Orton T-shirt would just be amazing. And I feel like this has to be it. Also, I'm sort of manifesting that maybe one day Randy and his wife Kim will marry us. So, Randy, if you're watching this somewhere or if you see this clip running around on the internet, please know that there is a girl in Alabama who is in love with a man, and I want you and your wife to marry us. I don't know how it can happen, but I'm just putting it out there. If it can't happen, that's fine too. I will settle for y'all being guests. I don't care. But you're the reason we're together, and I'm happy. So we need these shirts. So yeah, SmackDown was pretty lit tonight, actually. And then you had The Miz, who made his return to Cleveland because this is his hometown or whatnot. But then he decided that he was going to get in Jacob Fatu's face. And Jacob already mad because he got to fight Solo Sokoa in a steel cage match. And he said, look, I told my family I wasn't going to go back to the cage. But now I'm going to go. And then The Miz was like, look, you beating me up for a couple weeks ago, I actually put the fire back under me, and now I'm back and I'm ready to fight. And he said, "Cause I'm the Miz and I'm home." And then he slapped him, and then I was just like, "Now we already had one memorial on this episode. We finna have another one. Jacob gonna eat you alive. Sorry to you, Miz." And he wound up beating him, but child, this was crazy. Also, speaking of crazy, this is the first time we're seeing the Miz, on TV really like by himself without a certain Carmelo Hayes. And I'm gonna need for them to figure out real quick what's happening with him because it feels so weird that someone as talented as him and someone as star made and ready made as he is not getting the proper push or TV time or whatever it is that he needs. And it's like he'll get put in random matches every now and again, but it's just kind of like, what is happening to my Carmelo? I need more of him on my TV, please, because the fact that it's been like multiple pay-per-views and he hasn't been on them, and the fact that there's just been so much other stuff going on with the United States title and he hasn't been in that picture. He hasn't even like been moved to Raw or anything. Like there's a disconnect happening and I don't like it because a few years ago I patterned a whole episode after him talking about all the ways of which he is a perfectly packaged star, but yet they're not treating him like it and it's just so weird. And I'm wondering if the Miz and him is going to be revisited because at one point it looked like Carmelo and the Miz were kind of gonna maybe break up, maybe not. But then the Miz went off and did something else, and Carmelo was just kind of just left to his own devices after that. But you know, Carmelo won the Andre at WrestleMania weekend, and that was fantastic, and I was glad to have witnessed it. But Mr. Him needs something else. He needs more. He needs way more. He just does. So, yeah, I've spoken my piece about that. Just don't let him get lost because he's super talented. So, yeah. And also, where is Ron Killings? Where is he at? Like, I mean, him and Aleister Black had that thing, and now Aleister is feuding with Damian Priest because Damian was basically caping up for Ron slash R-Truth. And it's like now Ron is not in the picture anymore. Like, what's going on with that? Where is he? Because we wanted him to come back. He's back, but where is he at now? Where's Ron Killing? So yeah. And I believe that's basically it for what I liked in wrestling this week. I am so happy to have done this episode tonight. Thank all of you guys for watching me live. And of course, if you want to listen to the episode, you can listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on all audio platforms on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your audio stuff. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I am so close, and I mean this close. And I mean this close to 500 subscribers. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with that logo up there in the corner. Um, and of course, share my clips when you see me sharing them around with different hashtags and everything. And just continue to support me and all of my endeavors. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. I want to thank everybody for all of the love and support you showed me on Evolution Weekend, especially when I got to ask Naomi that question. Um, that's another reason why I'm not over Evolution just yet, and I'm not over Naomi being champion because number one, I didn't just get to witness it happen. I also got to ask her a question, and it means a lot. So Thank you guys so, so much. And of course, this is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye, y'all.